Right, we're back on the job today. As you can see, the brickwork has been repointed. I mean, it's such a good job, it looks like I could have done it. I think we've done about 2/3 along the back. Still quite a lot to do, it's quite a big job actually. As you can see, the brickwork's looking absolutely beautiful. Like I say, it could pass for one of mine. Yeah, we decided not to work yesterday. The forecast wasn't very good, very inclement. A good job we did, because at about 12 o'clock it absolutely hammered down. There we go. Ben's, we've covered everything up, all the windows are covered up. We'll start pointing very shortly. Yeah, brickwork looks really nice. All the replacement bricks, you can't even notice them. And here he is, look. He's damping everything down, which you have to do.
Put your tools in today?
Oh, well, I have a tool in there. I doubt very much whether I'll be using it, because I've come to quite an exciting chapter in my book. I've got a new book to read.
10 o'clock. Pointed that section in there. I've just got to obviously brush this section so it matches that, and I'm just about to point that in. That's what we done on Monday. Well, that's what I done Monday, all through there. Through there. All up there looking good. We've just got to do the top of the windows, but that's what she's looking like. I'm just going to get this bit along here down to there, do me sill, do over the top, and then over the top of that one and where the old man is and the sills, and then if I've got time I've just got to cut out 1, 2, that one's a bit borderline, so 3, 4, 5 bricks, and then I can point this bit in the morning, and then I'll start grinding down the bottom. I can get the scaffold taken away then, and I've just got to clean the old soffits for him. A little bit of an extra, keep the customers happy.
Well, I'm participating in my favourite hobby.
Drinking tea.
Drinking the old Rosie Lee.
Alright, yeah, there ain't been many videos because I ain't been feeling very well this week, so we'll get them out when we can, eh?
We will do.
But yeah, don't look bad, even that match from down the bottom. Obviously it's going to stand out because it's new, but there you go, now the camera's sorted the colour out. Not that bad.
No, it's a good match.
You're never going to get a perfect match because these are old, but there we go. I'll try and get him to do some filming in a minute, but he's too interested in his book.
I am, yes. Thrilling it is. Quite exciting. Ben's damping down the brickwork. He's doing the tile creasing seals as well. Must damp the brickwork down. Otherwise it could cause a small vacuum and you might get some cracking. But if you do this, 90% sure you won't get any cracking, which we haven't done any of that pointing.
Right, you only do a little section like that, water it down because it's windy, and in 15 minutes it's going to be dry, so I just do that section there, get that filled in, and then while I'm filling this in, that little bit's drying out up there, and then once I've filled this in, I'll go back and I will
You can see it all
point,
drying out.
I'll point that in, and then I'll brush this side off, and then I'll do it again, so I've always got 3 steps ahead sort of thing.
Right, it's going off, ready for pointing.
Right, if you pass me the hawk, I'll get this.
Right, Ben's now repointing with his flickers, as you've seen many times before. And basically, that section there is basically the last of this back elevation first top lift to do. Still quite a lot of work to do on the first lift, ground floor lift.
About 20 bricks to cut out on the bottom and then point it, obviously.
It's all looking really good. Like I say, it looks that good, I might even put my name on it. There again, I might not.
I think today, if we get this panel finished to the top, yeah?
Yep.
2 o'clock now, so get this panel in and then I think I'll call, that'll probably be the day. You had your lunch?
No, I've not had any lunch today. I'm working straight through it. That's my policy now. No dinner breaks, no tea breaks, and only 8 or 9 cups of tea in a day. No bickies. Some people give you biscuits. I was on a job in Windsor once. It's a couple that I knew. Anyway, they phoned me up to do some brickwork for them, so I went over there. I think it was a couple of pairs on the front. I can't remember now. Yeah, I think it was a couple of pairs, but they wanted a massive extension built. You know, everything. But it's too big for me. Anyway, I arrive there about 7:30, I suppose, and about half past 8, the young lady come out with a cup of tea and a tray of biscuits. Anyway, so she put the biscuits down and gave me the tea, and she said, "Do you want a biscuit?" And I said to her, I said, "Honestly, sweetheart," I said, "I can't eat them cheap ones." So she looked at me, she picked up the plate with biscuits on it, and went indoors. The next thing you know, she's called her husband to come out. He's come out, got straight in his car, shot down the shops in Windsor, came back, and then she's come out and she said, "Is that any posher for you?" There was chocolates, digestives. I felt quite good. I'm only joking, really, but...
I wouldn't call the chocolate digestive pot.
Well, there was chocolate digestive. There was Cadbury's Cadbury's fingers. They was expensive, but they're expensive now, but they were the top of the range then. Oh, and custard creams, yeah.
They're not top of the range. Is that
And,
the job where I flooded the house?
Eh?
Is that the job where I flooded the house?
Oh, when you switched off the freezer?
No, I flooded the house when you were a customer and I was about 16, I think.
I can't remember. I can't remember that.
It was, but I flooded it.
I can't remember.
I think the hose was going into the sink or something like that, and it must have come off.
Yeah. Anyway, so I got the brickwork. I got the whatever I was doing done, and I didn't really eat a lot of biscuits then. So she's come out. She said, "How are those biscuits?" I said, "Very nice." And she said, "Would you like another cup of tea?" I said, "Oh, yes, please." She said, "Because I ain't moving till you get all them bloody biscuits." And she just laughed. Yeah, that was they wanted a big extension doing. It was in Windsor. And in Windsor, because it's near the river, it's quite a massive job. You have to go down at least 2, sometimes 2.5 metres, and you have to use all this special stuff in the ovens like clay mask. Too big a job for me, really. So I gave him a rough. I said, I can do the brickwork, whoever the builder is. If you want me to do the brickwork, just tell him. Anyway, so that's what they done. But they never got in touch until about a year later. And I went back up there. The brickwork was absolutely atrocious. And he told her that he couldn't do the big bay window on the front because you can't get bricks to match it. Anyway, so I completed that. And when it was all finished, or when I finished what I was doing, sitting in the kitchen chatting to her, I think he'd gone out somewhere. And she was saying that the quote I gave her, about 30-something grand, was near enough right. It's only a rough guess. But she said, we agreed that, but it ended up costing us 50,000. I said, why is that? So he said, well, he reckons he only allowed a metre deep. But it was a Windsor build, so it really just tucked them up, really. But the actual building itself wasn't too bad inside, with electric skylight in there. But the brickwork out the front was absolutely a try. I never said anything to them, but she knew it weren't very good. So I went about a week later and I done the bay out of headers, got some matching bricks. And the trouble was, I mean, not that my brickwork was anything spectacular. Well, I thought so at the time, but it made all the others look shabby. So she said, anything you can do with the brickwork? I said, not really. I scraped it all back a little bit, washed it down with a bit of soap, you know, washing up liquid, used a scrubbing brush, filled in the pointing, looked a little bit better. But there you go. And where Ben flooded the customer's house. Oh, I remember. I think that was in Burnham somewhere.
Wow.
And
No, it's Datchet.
oh, he says
I
Datchet.
think that's Stuart and Jenny's. In Datchet, wasn't it?
No, they never lived in Datchet. They lived in Windsor and on the Brickwell.
I'm sure it's Datchet. You can call it Windsor, but that's like calling the Brickwell Burnham, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
It's not. Is it?
Anyway, I can't remember it, and I've got a really good memory. But they was all right. They moved again, I think, not long after that. She didn't like living there. And like most women, she ruled the roost. So if she said jump, he just had to say how high. But they did phone me about some more work, but I forget where that job was, but I think they split up now. I'm not sure. I ain't seen them or heard from them for years. Oh, while I was reminiscing about the biscuits, it reminds me of another little job, because I used to do quite a lot of work for quite a few of the builders in Burnham in Buckinghamshire. Sometimes small, you know. I didn't build complete houses on my own, but there was I get a phone call from a builder, and he wanted, you know, a friend of his wanted a brick fireplace built. So I said, it's only in Slough. I said, yeah, not a problem. He said, well, how much? I said, well, unless I go there and have a look at it, I can't really tell you. So he said, well, when you get there, he said, just give her an idea, no, tell her what the prices will be, and she'll sort you out. I said, okay then. Anyway, I get there. Oh, and that's right. He said, well, by the way, she said, she's Slough's chief health and safety officer. I said, oh, okay then, fair enough. Anyway, I said, well, you tell her I'll be there early Sunday morning. So I got there about, I don't know, about 6 o'clock, a bit early really, but I wanted to get it done and I wanted to get it finished. Anyway, so I've gone in the front room. Next thing you know, she comes out with a hard hat and a high-vis jacket. So I said, what do you want me to do with them? Well, to wear them, she says. I don't know if you know it, she says, but I'm Slough's chief health and safety officer. I said, all right then. Anyway, so I said, how do you want the fireplace built? So she says, well, what do you think? I said, well, you're having it built. Anyway, so I roughly explained to her. And I said, you'll need a timber turning piece to turn the bricks on the top. All right, she said. I said, now phone the builder, because he's got to make one. All right, she said. Anyway, come back later. She said, he'll make it when you want it. I said, in about 20 minutes. So she's back on her phone. And she said, yeah, he'll bring it along in about an hour. Anyway, so I said, look, before I go any further, we haven't discussed the price. So she said, well, how much do you reckon? I said, I'm not going to reckon anything. I said, I'll give you a price. I said £65. Oh, she said, that seems a lot. I said, well, it's a lot of work, sweetheart. I said, you're paying for what I know. Anyway, I take the brickwork up to the skew backs, which is where the actual turning piece has got to sit to turn the bricks over. So I said, phone that builder up. Anyway, eventually the builder turns up. So I'm sitting there, you know, getting a bit impatient. Well, he should have seen the state of his turning piece. Looks like he'd done it with his teeth. Anyway, so then he just shot off straight away. So I said, look, sweetheart, I said, this isn't the best turning piece ever. Was that? I said, well, whatever shape the turning piece is, that's what. Anyway, so I've done my best. I propped it up, I got bits of cardboard, and it didn't look too bad, but I wasn't all that happy. She was well pleased with it. So I finished. So I cleared up. I said, right. And by this time, I'd taken off the silly hat and the high-vis jacket. So she's chatting away to me. I said, right, now the best part of the job for me. And she said, what's that? I said, when I spoke to the builder, we said that we'd agreed a price, and I said, and you'd say, and you'd go and get the money. Oh, she said. So she goes out, comes back. Oh, she said, I haven't got my card to go to the cash point. I said, oh. And she said, how much was it? 55. I said, no, 65. Oh, I don't know. Perhaps I can get it to you during the week. Anyway, so I looked at her. I gave her me Clint Eastwood look, and that really frightened her. Next thing you know, she shut out the door, and she come back with £65 and £5 for a drink. I shook her hand, and I went home.
I got to the end, all over there. I don't mash in too bad. I pretty much pointed from there today up to the top, all that on my own. The old Bricklayer's just a cameraman. But that's the end of today. Probably the last video this week. I'm not going to be, tomorrow I'm grinding out down there, so I'm not going to bother videoing. Right, you ready to go? Yeah?
It's unleashed temperature.